Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Merlin Show. It is the August 9th edition today. Yeah, crazy. August 9th. Rolling through the year and back from a little bit of a vacation. As you guys know, I was over in Ireland for the last 8 days. Had a fantastic time. First time to Ireland. Actually, I've done England and Scotland, but Ireland was fantastic. Great people. The food, I mean, come on. What do you got? You got potatoes, you got some meats, some broths, maybe some cheese, some bread. Not that great of food, but hey, can't win them all. Scenery-wise, it was beautiful. I have not had a chance to get any pictures ready. I literally got home late last night, so today's been kind of getting everything back into order. So maybe tomorrow, the next day, I'll show you some of the highlight picture-wise from Ireland for anybody who might be interested. I spent pretty much 8 days just traveling in a vehicle, and yeah, saw some pretty amazing things along the way. Great time, good to refresh, and here we are, back in the saddle for another trading week wrap-up. Now, it's weird to come in kind of this late in the week. Obviously, there were some tremendous things that happened over the last 8 trading days, so we'll dive right into that. For me, thanks, Liz. Yeah, great to be back. Thank you, By the Dip, Chio, Margaret, live. Good to see you, Kenny as well. Yeah, I was debating not doing a show, but it's like, I got to. I miss doing this. It was funny because, you know, when you travel, one of my key things when I travel is I turn off the markets. I don't want to listen to it. I don't want to get caught up in it. I want to enjoy my time experiencing life and just traveling, etc. However, with what went on, particularly on Monday, it was really difficult not to pay attention to. It was like one of those, whoa, wow, that's a pretty significant decline. And I broke one of, it's not really a rule, but I definitely deviated from what I normally would do when I'm vacationing. And because all the headlines on the news stations were talking about the U.S. markets and how they were falling apart on Monday, I just went out and I said, okay, what am I looking at buying at this moment in time? As you guys know, I still am long-term bullish on these markets, even though we've had a significant correction. I just think an election year, it'd be hard for me to believe we're going to see a significant crash going into the year end. If anything, they're going to try to prop it up as much as possible, whether that's printing more money, whether that's, you know, some sort of stimulus to go in there, cutting of rates, whatever. It just really felt like it was a way overdone sell-off, and of course, I think a lot of it's just driven by fear and greed. So on Monday, it was just look out there and say, where am I looking to acquire some positions? So I sold puts on Rivian, the Qs, the S&P. I sold on XLK, which of course is pretty much QQQ. What else did I have on there? Silver as well. Just some great opportunities. The one that I didn't get, which I wanted to, but I was kind of like, let me just hold off just a hair here, was on NVIDIA. NVIDIA was giving some great premium. I mean, I saw a comment in here from Liz saying excellent options premium this week. Fantastic options premium. I mean, I got on major market indexes for going way out of the money. I was getting 1.5% for the next 7-8 days. You know, most of mine I did on the monthly expiration. Actually, all of mine are on monthly expiration, so I still have another week to go. But I'm not really that concerned. At the strike prices I got, you know, if the markets get down to it, great. Kenny said just sold puts on Palantir and kicking myself for not just buying. I know, Kenny. That's one of those things you just kind of have to say, I'm either going to be the guy who's going to buy the underlier and maybe use options as a little bit of extra firepower, or I'm going to be a little more conservative and just do the options side of things. Given all that's going on in my world right now, I'm so focused on so many other things. For me, I'd rather just say, I'll commit myself to buy this thing at a 5, 10, 15% discount. And if I miss it, I still keep that money. So yeah, that's a tough one, Kenny. I can tell you the number of times. It's an infinite number, honestly. There's no limit on it, because every time you sell some puts and it's something that you really wanted, it just takes off, and you're like, man, why didn't I just buy it? I would have gotten a better percentage rate of return, or just buy the calls on it. Hindsight's 20/20, man. Hindsight's 20/20. It always is. All right, so let's go to the graphic for today. I tried to have AI generate something. This is what AI thinks I look like. Okay, maybe I need to update it to have a picture of my mustache and goatee on there. But yeah, this was. You know, I'll be honest, you look at the picture in the background, I know it's kind of blurred out because that's what AI decided to do. I mean, this is what it was. It was just green fields everywhere. Just green and lush and beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Ireland, I can find things of beauty in almost every country. I think that every country has something beautiful to offer. But Ireland it's almost overwhelming with the amount of the same sort of beauty. It's just green and lush everywhere. Just especially when you got onto like the Ring of Kerry and got onto like the the edge of the western coast of Ireland, just open fields as far as you can see with these cool primitive fences that were built, a century ago. Just fantastic to get out there. I don't know how some of these people live out there. I'll be honest. I'll show you some pictures maybe on Monday when I can get them all downloaded, where you'll go, how do people live out there? Like what? How do people live out there? I don't know, but they do well. Anyway, beautiful green countryside, and I'll show you some more pictures. That was probably my face most of the time. Very happy. I drank more over an 8-day period than I have in a long time, because I think that's just what you do in Ireland. There's always these jokes about the Irish being drinkers. What did God do to prevent the Irish from ruling the world? Do you guys know the answer to this one? It's a pretty, it's a mean joke, but what did God create to prevent the Irish from running the world? Whiskey. Everywhere we went, tons of whiskey. Went to a whiskey distillery tour, did the Jameson tour, did the Guinness tour, a bunch of other different breweries out there. So yeah, I was consumed quite a bit of very, very good beer and some delicious whiskey, which, maybe I'll have a little glass on next Friday show. All right, let's get past my praise for Ireland. Liz says that it's called the Emerald Alpha Reason. Absolutely. It was really just crazy. Okay, so I put this bull sign on here because I asked it to show me a good buying opportunity. And let's just look at some of the big market indexes. So I'm going to go through, and we can look at individual securities if you guys would like. More than happy, just type in what you want to look at. But if we look at the major S&P sectors, even things like consumer discretionary, consumer discretionary did fall lower than where I thought it was going to go. I kind of expected it to bottom out right around that 170 mark. Well, we hit a low on Monday. What was that low price? Low price 166. So it got a little bit lower than that zone. But all these markets had this huge big gap downs and sell-offs right into areas of some demand. So here is healthcare. Healthcare did not come into an area of demand. Utilities didn't even really sell off much. You had technology, which came down to an area that I was interested in buying at, which was that 192 mark. I mentioned this one on the show and ended up selling the 190 put options on that, collecting some great premium. Those expire next Friday, so I still do have a risk of being executed. But for the short-term rate of return that I got on Monday, it was great. I really got a fantastic rate of return for those puts at 190 on XLK. You look at industrials. Industrials also coming back down to this area where it really just traversed sideways for the better part of 5 months now. Came right down to it and bounced off. Perfect. I know Tom's not here today. I don't see Tom anyway. I know it's gonna take a while to get the number of viewers back up. Every time I take a vacation for a week, I lose 50% of the audience. So thank you for those of you who decided to show up today for a 1 day for the week session. We'll be back to normal next week. But I talk about the Tom trade all the time in jest, but Tom loves range-bound markets. And if we look at what's gone on here with XLI, which is industrials, you do have a pretty significant range-bound market here, which came right down to the bottom of it. So if you're looking for buying that bottom, that 120 was a perfect spot on industrials. How about financials? Financials came right down into the origin of this last big rally up here, right around that $40 mark. Again, all of these markets, in my opinion, came down to some pretty significant, tasty opportunities. I hope that many of you took advantage of that, sold some puts, or bought on this most recent dip. And we'll talk about a couple of tech stock people have asked about here in just a second. Here's XLB, which is going to be basic materials. Same picture, right down towards these lows we saw from mid or early July. And then you have the indexes. S&P did not really, in my opinion, come down to any notable level. We were talking right around this 50 or 500 mark would have been a great spot. The Qs, they did. Right, Qs came a little bit deeper into that. I'm always looking for a gap closure. Well, we closed the gap that started here on May 2nd and ran out of it. So that was one of the reasons why I looked at going into the triple Qs. It's because of that gap closure. I ended up selling the 390 Qs expiring next Friday, and I believe was 1.5% for 9-10 days. Great. I'm totally fine with that. Love it. IYR, one of the only ones that really didn't follow that same picture as the other market, right? Looking strong for housing, and then you have the Russell 2000. Chia says, Merlin, what's your opinion on the national debt? This might cause a recession. A bit of a tangent. Let me finish up here, and I'll get to that question. It's a great question. That needs to be dealt with, not by me, but by our government and the powers that be. So yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. Let me finish up. I'm kind of going through the top 10 here real quick, and then we'll wrap up, and I'll go into that. But great question. Don't stop asking. Now, I gotta come out here. I made a wager with Big Eb, who's not here today to gloat in the joy of his victory. But I have a chart here which shows the 10-year. Now this goes back to, I believe, the beginning of the year. Hey, Noam, good to see you. Thank you. Good to be back. You know, when we go back into this period of time here, I think it was actually before this. I want to say it was somewhere in here. I wish I wrote down the date I made this wager with Big Eb, but it was in a period of time where the trend on that 10-year bond was moving to the upside, and I had a lot of personal, in my mind, support for rates going higher. Namely, the short end of the yield curve was stuck at a high level. Therefore, we need this yield curve to normalize, and they're issuing so much more bonds, they have to offer yield. And my target was certainly going to be much higher. I thought we were going to head up towards that 5% level. So I made a bet with Big Eb that by the end of the year, we would not see prices get down below 4%. Now, I think I modified it for the better of Ed. He said by the end of the year, price will be above, or he said it'd be below 4%. I gave him the benefit of the doubt and said, look, if at any point it crosses below 4%, you win the bet. So I had to upgrade the text on the show here. You can see right now it says, Merlin owes Big Eb a beer. So I'm glad to pay that debt. I got to figure out. I owe 2 beers now. I think I own one to Mike and I own one to the Big Eb. So we'll have to figure out how those work. Good news is, Mike, you're down here like every other Saturday. I think you mentioned for the mastermind meetup events for OTA or TA, whatever they want to call themselves now. That's great. But Big Eb, I owe you a beer. We got to arrange, figure out how I get down there to come drink that one. You know, and I will admit that once we got to here, I started changing my tune a little bit because the trend had started to drift down. And you guys know I'm a trend person. Trend is your friend to the bend at the end. There's no reason to buck that one. And here we had that thing just traversing lower, and I said, he'll probably win. And lo and behold, the day I left, this thing just kind of went into a free fall. Now I'm back, so it'll probably bounce back up. But congratulations, Big Eb. You won that one, and you've got months to spare. Thank you, Jim. Good to be back. I am back, yeah. I am back, and I'm actually in one piece. Everything went great except for my horrible flight yesterday with United, but you can't win them all. Other than that, it was a great trip all the way around. Okay, so that is the change I made to my charts. I had to add that text on there. Merlin owes Big Eb a beer. I will keep it there until I repay. Unfortunately, there's no picture of a Super Bowl, so I can't put that Merlin owes Mike a beer for the Super Bowl victory from his Chiefs, where my Niners just literally gave it up. I don't understand how we could lose so badly. Anyway, I'll move up that list. We talk about Russell 2000. Again, today, not looking that great. It was down 0.24%, coming off the heels of a pretty significant day yesterday, which is great since I sold a bunch of puts. But notice where that sell-off bottomed out. You see this Russell 2000 tanking. Like the day I left, it just went into free fall mode, which is great. We had a shooting star. If you follow those rules, this is a great opportunity. But where did it bottom? I didn't just redraw this chart. We kind of drew it because of that low point going back to the 17th of June. And that's literally to the tick where we bottomed out and started to rally out of it. So people say supply and demand doesn't work sometimes. I say hogwash. Here comes a commercial, apparently. I'll be right back. Okay. Now, moving up that ladder, and this is just for today, you got that dollar index. Dollar index did exceed that 102.66 mark, but we kind of had that marked out as a point where we thought it might bounce off of. It has bounced off of that, so that's a good thing. S&P 500, well, we did break down below this area of demand, which I had drawn out between 54.38 and 54.22. Once we broke below that, you know, it's seeking out that next area of demand. In this case, we had that big surge on fear when they thought the market's going to go into recession. I mean, Monday was just, the talk track was crazy, how people were speculating on what it's going to be and how bad it was going to be. I don't think we're there yet, folks, but which was my opinion. So we had that nice bounce off the S&P, although, in my opinion, we didn't really come into a demand zone which warranted that, so I didn't make a play there. And then you have gold. And we talked about gold once it broke out. The question is, does this box still have any relevance? In my opinion, it does not. Because we broke through these highs, I mean, you could start to modify this and say, oh, it's here, oh, it's here. I'm going to take that box out. We're no longer in a sideways channel on gold. What I will do is I'll put a line across these lows, which is, for me, just a personal area of interest, where that's going to be 2,285. If it breaks below that, then I think you got a potential for significant selling coming into gold. But at this point, we're just trending to the upside. Just, it looks beautiful. It looks to me like gold's going to break its all-time high here shortly. Yeah, all there is, man, the media was on that day was crazy. It was, and it's funny because I was trying not to watch it. I forgot where we were on Monday, but I think we were on, I don't know, it's been such a whirlwind tour. I think we were on the Ring of Kerry tour, which was just driving around just this amazing countryside and stopping all these cool little villages and, of course, having a pint just about everywhere you went. And, yeah, just kind of when I got reception logging in, like, oh, wow, headlines. I was bummed. It's funny. I wish I could go away more because it seems like when I leave, markets just all of a sudden go haywire. Great. Let them go haywire. It was opportunity. I will have, hopefully, if all goes well according to plan, this last week will have been a very profitable one, even though I was traveling around and enjoying my life. Okay, there's your NASDAQ. Now, NASDAQ, one of the reasons, again, why I went to triple Qs is we came right back this point here. This line I'm keeping my cursor on, 17,428 is the low point. Kind of this, we had a drop and then all of a sudden ripped out on May 2nd, right? May 2nd is that target point here. And then you also have the low just below that at 17,113. And on that giant big bottoming tail when fear was just off the charts, managed to sell some puts on those triple Qs, getting great premium for a very short window of time. You know, the question is, are we done? If you look at this picture, the picture says, no, we're not done, right? We're not done. What it tells you is we have a bounce back off of some demand zones. And the question I have for myself, this isn't for you, I mean, maybe you can answer it if you like, is where are we going to go from here? As you all know, there's only three possibilities. We are either going to go up, we're going to go sideways, or we're going to go down. And just based off of the trend since early July, one would lead me to believe that the price of, well, you guys tell me, where do you think it's going to go? I changed the delay time here, so it should be a little bit faster for you. But based off that, are we going to go up, we're going to go down, or are we going to go sideways? It's just a probability game. And no one is going to be right or wrong here. Jeff says, dead cat bounce, then down. So basically what he's expecting is a nice little spike up, and then continue down. Retired Jim says up. Okay. Gosh, guys, in just 3 answers, we have all of you thinking something completely different. And this is why trading is just so amazing. I love trading. It's my addiction. I make no qualms about it. But Jeff says, bounce up, then down. Retired Jim says up. Oliver says sideways. And then Fury says, I agree. Oh, well, I'll tell you what. Here's my take on it, just from a chart perspective. Yeah, it's so tough because, look, long term, we have this beautiful trend which says, if we look at the long-term trend, Jim is right? Retired Jim is up. It's going to go up. And reason why is, you're in a long-term trend, this is just a pullback. However, if we look here, which goes back to those July highs, we're now making lower highs and lower lows, which would lead me to believe, and this is where I focus more of my time, is I believe what Jeff says here, which is, a little bit of a bounce off those lows, and then we'll start to drift lower. I don't think it's going to be a crash, but I do think we'll see it drift back down towards these lows that I've got mapped out here at 17,148, which would line up with my Q strike prices. So I'm okay with that. A slow drift down, but I think the real fear panic piece we saw back on Monday we might have sidestepped that one. I don't think we'll see a big crash here. But again, anything can happen, right? Noam says, looks like a reversal. Well, especially you add in things like volume, which, I don't usually have it on my charts. You had volume on this rally up is actually declining. The volume on the rally up looks lower, at least for today, right? So you got today's session right here for Friday, much lower volume than we have seen. The last 4 days in a row have been lower volume. Now let's go something like the triple Qs. Okay, now that paints a little bit of a different story for me. Warren Buffett ain't wrong. We'll get to that in just a second. It's a great point, Jeff. You guys are getting a lot of ads today, aren't you? It really feels like you're getting a lot of... I'm seeing like this is the third time I've seen an ad thing pop up, which you're going to get in about 7 seconds. But anyway, another reason why I was very confident and happy to buy this dip is look at the volume spike for the Qs on Monday. The average, it looks to me like the average volume is somewhere around 24 million a day on the Qs. I could probably bring up better stats, but it looks to be about 24 million. Well, on Monday's session, we hit 87. That's almost 4 times normal. And that is one of those climactic volume moments where, to me, that is the sign that everybody just panicked. Everybody just threw all caution to the wind and just freaked out. Those are great buying opportunities. I love it. I love it. So that definitely was one of them. You can see the similar picture here on SPY, right? bottoming out with big volume spike, just created buying opportunities. I don't think it means that this sell-off is done. I just think that was a panic moment, and as people digest more and more news, of course, we have economic data happening next week. You're going to have CPI, PPI, retail sales numbers, some nice earnings coming out next week. We might see this drift even lower. But either way, I'm not taking huge directional bets. I've got some pretty big put plays I sold this week. It wasn't last week, it was this week. And we'll see how those come to fruition on the 16th. I've got just a couple more days until we get there. 5 trading sessions, and I think I'll be okay on most of those. All right, let's see. Going up to the top here, I want to get to the end here. We got crude oil, which, let me take the volume off of crude oil. Crude oil. I find it interesting that it's now outside that trend line, or sorry, it broke the outside of the trend line, although it did hit those lows from June 4th. So you got kind of a double bottom there. I was making a play on the long side here for crude oil. I did have USO, and I no longer have USO, so that expired on last Friday, so we're fine there. As far as what's going to happen with crude oil here, the fact that it broke this uptrend along the bottom and this area of demand that goes back to June 10th, has me a little bit bearish on crude oil at this moment, just simply because we're breaking levels that we're holding price up. So I'm a little bit slightly bearish on crude oil at the moment just because of that break of this uptrending line across the bottoms. However, I don't feel like we really did a significant break of these lows from the June 4th. So I'm not ultra bearish, just slightly on it. If we get a close down below, let's say 72 and a quarter, then I'll be in a much more bullish or much more bearish camp. And then the last one, Bitcoin. I had this chart mapped out for a long time, expecting there to be more of a sell-off. I thought that maybe we'd bottom out in August, and I had 50,000 as my target. I guess I was wrong. We hit a low of 49,000. So we came right down to that little yellow zone. We've bounced off it aggressively, and the question going forward will be, what's the deal with Bitcoin? Where's it going to go? And I'll spend some more time over the next couple weeks talking about it because there is a political piece to this. Actually, it's largely political, but I'm not going to get into that on this show. I got other things I want to cover and get some of your questions, and then we'll wrap up. You were kind of wrong. I'm always kind of wrong. I'm always kind of right, too. But which part was I wrong on, Jim? Which part was I wrong on? Need more studies a bit. You mean, Jeff, you mean for me analyzing it, like looking at Bitcoin? Can definitely do that. All right, so this goes back to a comment that came in. Oh, I bet against the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm a 49ers fan through and through, so I don't care. I will definitely put my money on the 49ers against the Chiefs any day. You just have the best quarterback in the history of, not in history, but you have the best quarterback in the NFL right now. That guy can make miracles happen, even with mediocre players. He's got great players, but if you give him mediocre, he'll do well. But give our team a chance. Our quarterback's still really young. All right, let's go back to Jeff's comment here, which says, Warren B ain't wrong. And so I got a question from Gene on this one as well, which is kind of interesting. He says, what are your thoughts on Buffett selling Apple? So to be fair, the headlines portray this as, I don't know if you guys saw it, but if you look at the headlines, it's like Warren Buffett sold his Apple. Those are both, actually the headline said Warren Buffett just sold his Apple. Both of those headlines are misleading and incorrect, okay? Number one, Warren Buffett sold half of his Apple position over the last quarter. This isn't just happened. He's been selling over the last quarter. Remember, Berkshire Hathaway doesn't need to disclose things until they report earnings. So every 3 months, he has to disclose what they've done. So over the last 3 months, Warren Buffett has been selling Apple. Not all of it, half of it. I think $90 billion worth of Apple. So, we can look at the price of Apple here, and you guys know I'm not a big fan of Apple. It shouldn't sway anybody's opinions here. You look at his market timing, I'd say Uncle Warren's been doing pretty damn good. If he was selling over the last 3 months, let's look at when they reported their earnings, because this is the day they had to disclose it, right? And I will draw a box here that goes back 3 months. So we're going to go August, July, June. We'll go back to June 1st. Actually, it's going to be May 1st. So right here is the last quarter. I mean, he sold out of $90 billion right there. somewhere within that yellow box. That is perfect timing. Historically, I don't think he could have timed it any better. Now, what are my thoughts on it? It's a good question, Gene. I'm curious what you guys think. What do you think about Warren Buffett selling that much of his Apple position? I look at the numbers now, and I've seen two conflicting numbers. I've seen 277 billion, and I've seen 227 billion. Either way, he's got over $200 billion in cash. So let that sink in for a little bit. You have one of the most prolific value investors in the history of financial markets sitting on over $200 billion. Could be 220, could be 270. And what's $70 billion? Who cares? He's got $200 billion. And in my mind, this is a warning shot. This is a signal that he thinks things are slowing down. They may not be over, so he's lightening the load a little bit on his Apple position because he's thinking we might be headed more towards some difficult times going forward, and therefore I want to have some dry powder to buy the heck out of this market when it finally tanks. Does that mean that we're going to tank in the next quarter? Not necessarily. Does it mean that the next year maybe? I would think that's a much higher probability that we're going to see a recession or a market correction, a significant correction in the next year, maybe year and a half. And when that happens, here is Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, sitting on over $200 billion. He's going to gobble up a lot of these companies, big time. And maybe he buys back in $90 billion worth of Apple, but he'll buy 10 times as many shares. Maybe not 10 times, but he'll buy a lot more. So Fury says expects a dip. Yeah, I think it's signaling to the markets that Buffett is feeling like we're headed towards a correction. Again, his opinion is just his opinion. However, he's making a statement with $90 billion of Apple. I think he's right to sell his Apple. Not all of it, but you're pretty heavy in one particular security. I'll show you here. If you go to a site called Guru Focus, they do a pretty good job. I'm not sure how accurate it is. Again, I don't know if I should trust all of these things. But go here to Warren Buffett, and let's get rid of that. You scroll down here. This should represent the old position. Just 100 and... Yeah, I don't know how quickly this is updated because I don't really follow what Buffett does. However, if we look at the diagram of his portfolio, 41% of his portfolio was in Apple. Now that for any stretch of the imagination is extensive, right? You shouldn't have more than, at least in my opinion, you shouldn't have more than 25% or 30% in any one position, and then this is just an Apple alone. So I think it's probably a smart move on his part to diversify a little bit, get out of some of that Apple. Now, obviously, he made a ton of money on this. He can take some cash off the table, buy back into some other market segments he feels might be more of a better buy down the road. But some of these valuations got pretty high. A lot of the PEs of these companies got really lofty, and all of a sudden they start lowering their forecasts a little bit and expecting a recession, things slowing down. You can't fault Warren Buffett for doing it. I think he is making a pretty informed, educated decision about where the market's going to go. He's no slouch. Could it be a mistake? Could the markets just continue on up from here? Absolutely. With the amount of money the government's pumping in and printing of money supply and, just taking on more and more debt because they don't care, then yeah, markets keep going up. Now, this goes back to a question early on from Chia, which was, what do you think about the debt, right? Is that going to be an issue here? And absolutely it's going to be it's going to be an issue. I like to equate government debt to just personal debt. Now, I am one who I always try to live within my means. I splurge when I want to, but I know that, I did this nice vacation. I splurged. I'm going to have to go on financial lockdown for a little bit because I don't like to exert my finances. I don't like to spend that much money in a short window of time. I mean, you're talking several $1,000s for an 8-day vacation. It's a little bit much for me. The government doesn't have any sort of thought process like that. It's just spend. That is a recipe for disaster. I believe it will come to a fruition here at some point. I don't know when that's going to be. That's going to be very, very bad for America. Like really bad. And I hope it doesn't happen when I'm 65 because then my Social Security is going to disappear. Unless something is done immediately, and when I say done, what needs to happen is all of the expenses of our government need to be laid out on a table, and someone needs to go through it like I go through my personal finances and say, nope, cutting that, nope, cutting that, I'm going to spend less here. This one's okay as is, but it needs to be, you know, a Benihana type of the silverware is slapping and you're just chopping up that budget. You are getting rid of a lot of pieces. Now, while it sounds great at the high level, okay, cut this, cut that, cut this, cut that. If we cut that much stuff, which needs to be in the category of tens of billions of dollars worth of cuts at a minimum, then what you're going to have is a lot of angry people, a lot of people out of work, a lot of services that you and I may have used in the past now will be obsolete or reduced, and we're going to be angry as Americans. So it's a double-edged sword. You want to fix the country, we're going to have to take some personal hits as well. And what type of hits? Well, maybe they start selling off national parks to pay for our debt. And I'm sure most of the Americans in the room would be up in arms and just furious and pissed off if you learned that, well, China came in and bought Yellowstone and Glacier National Park and Yosemite. Well, I think they actually own Yosemite's camps, but, I think we'd be upset about that. But they got to start selling off assets or cutting off their cost immediately. They don't want to do that. And what's going to happen is it will come to a head at some point, and there will be a big repricing, devaluation of the U.S. markets. To me, that could be, the worst case scenario, in my opinion, would be that we're going to see a devaluation of the dollar where basically the dollar becomes so worthless that you start to see major problems with the U.S. dollar, and then that leads to the economy. So I hope that doesn't happen, but I think there'll be a default at some point. We are as good as we say we are, and I'll honor that loan, and how are we paying off our loan interest right now is just by printing more money, and that's not good. That actually does increase the value of Bitcoin, in my opinion, because that's true, honest money. You can't make more of it. It is what it is. There's an infinite supply of dollars, and we're quickly on our way to printing infinite dollars. Exactly, and that will decrease the value of the U.S. dollar, and if you are one of those people that just lives in the United States and you never go anywhere, who cares? Devalue the dollar all you want. At a certain point, though, the goods and services that we get from other countries will become cost prohibitive to you with your weak dollar. So, Chia, I don't think it's sustainable. I really wish that we would focus on doing those necessary cuts, but it's very painful because no president. Imagine if you were the president of the United States. Okay, just hypothetical. I don't care where you were born. Just pretend you're the president of the United States. And you are now saying, I'm going to make changes here. And I would be happy with me. I'd be fine with the legacy of, God, that guy was a horrible president because he just cut so many things. Yeah, because it puts the country back on a good footing where we need to be. That president will go down in history as one of the worst of all time because he created high unemployment, right? You're going to cut all these services. Jobs are going to be scarce. It's not going to be a pretty situation. And no president wants to do that. Biden doesn't want to do it. Trump won't do it. No president wants to sit there and be the one that people go, God, that guy destroyed America. They'll always point the finger at other presidents and say they destroyed it. But if you are cutting that much, you are going to have significant declines in the economy, and that's going to be on your watch. That doesn't make you look good. If RFK were elected, Bitcoin owners would become millionaires. We'd be multimillionaires, Jeff. I made this statement the other day. I said, if my only thing that I was concerned about, throw away health care and pensions and, women's rights, throw all that stuff out the window. If my only concern was my Bitcoin, there's no question who I'm voting for. 100% guarantee to be RFK. But fortunately, I have many other things that are important to me as a citizen. But yes, as a financial perk, Kennedy would be the number one choice for me based off of his opinions about Bitcoin. And I think would be for you as well, Jeff. But again, we have all these other issues that are, I think are from a humanity, society, well-being perspective, they definitely are much more important than digital assets. But hopefully we'll do better. Jimmy Carter did it and he got voted out. Yeah. Clinton did. Clinton's the last president with a budget surplus. We had too much money. We have a surplus of money under Clinton. Sorry, I just brain farted there. Under Clinton, we had a surplus of money. Crazy. Bizarre stuff. Anyway, Mike says, what do you think of RFK saying he will buy 550 Bitcoins per month for several years? That is insane, Mike. You guys realize how impossible that would be? So there is 450 Bitcoin created per day. That's the mining reward. So there's 3.125 Bitcoin here. I can just real quickly show you this. We'll go show you that. I'll bring up a calculator just so you guys all understand. How do you know how many Bitcoin? Well, there's 3.125 Bitcoin created every 10 minutes. There are 6 of those blocks in 1 hour. All right, that's 18.75 Bitcoin created an hour, and there's 24 hours in a day, which is 450 Bitcoin. So what Kennedy is saying is, I'm going to buy every Bitcoin that's created, which you can't, right? You can't buy every Bitcoin that's created. Why? Because they're not on the market. Think of this. If I'll let you guys answer this. Who gets the freshly made Bitcoin? Type in the chat. Who gets the freshly made Bitcoin? Right? When you solve a block, you are rewarded with 3.125 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. The person who gets that, or the entity that gets that, is a miner. Right, Chio? You got it. So you have Riot Blockchain, Hut 8, you've got Marathon. These are massive multi-billion-dollar organizations trying to mine Bitcoin. So he would have to go to every miner and say, I'm buying what you have. I'm buying it all. And you think that miner would say, sure, have it at cost? Oh, no. They'd say, okay, you're paying a 30% premium, which would do what to the price of Bitcoin? Boom. If Kennedy were elected and he signed that into law, which he said he would do in his first day of office, he said, I will sign it over that the Treasury Department has to buy 550 Bitcoin per day until we get to 4 million Bitcoin. Don't ever sell your Bitcoin. Never. Never sell your Bitcoin if that's the case, the 40 miners. That's good. I like that one, Mike. I like that. That was good. I think it's an interesting idea, and honestly, it could be something that helps us pay off our national debt. If you take those Bitcoin that the U.S. Marshal Service has right now, and he's got, or the U.S. Marshal Service has 240,000 Bitcoin. Both Trump and JFK said they would sign a law day one that would put that from the Marshal Service, which could be auctioned off, and put those into the Treasury Department and keep those as strategic reserves for the United States. Brilliant move. Because if you have 244,000 Bitcoin that literally is given to you, and Bitcoin goes to $1 million, you can now sell that off and start paying off some of your debt. So that's a brilliant idea. But I don't think that there's any way he could buy 550 per day. I think you'd all agree that if only 450 are made, and those 450s are in the hands of other people, and one person wants to buy everything that was created, the price of Bitcoin is literally going to go through the roof. I mean, it's going to be over $1 million in a very short window of time. So bring it on, Kennedy. I would love to see it. I'll tell you this, guys. I know he doesn't stand a chance, but if Kennedy looks like he's ahead in the polls going into the election, which I don't think he has a chance in hell of winning, but if he is, it's a back up the truck moment to buy Bitcoin before he gets into office, before he signs day one. Because if he follows through on any of that, man, the price of Bitcoin is going to go through the roof. It's going to be millions of dollars. Crazy. Saram says, I can't even talk today. It's the Irish in me. Is Bitcoin ETF a reasonable alternative to buying Bitcoin? It is. It is, depending on which ones you buy, Sriram. What you don't want to do is don't buy the futures-based products like BITO, because that's futures. You want to buy something like IBIT, which is the BlackRock. They actually have physical Bitcoin in the trust, or in their ETF. But if you really want to help out and you really are like me and see the future for digital assets, open up an account at Coinbase or Kraken or Gemini, buy Bitcoin and move it onto cold storage. You'll further help the price escalate because your Bitcoin will no longer be part of a centralized exchange. It will be in your possession, meaning it's out of circulation. Price goes up. Less Bitcoin in circulation, demand increasing, price is soaring. So, Mike, I think it's an insane. When I heard him say it, I watched the thing live. My jaw hit the floor, but I was like, man, if only you had a chance of being president. Because if he became president and did that, man, this would be an absolute game changer for me. Because Bitcoin would be well over $1 million per Bitcoin, probably several million. Anyway, I didn't even use my graphics for today. I asked Midjourney to create a picture of Buffett after I got the Warren Buffett question. There he is. Rob T says, which exchange has the lowest fees? I have done extensive research on this, Rob. Extensive. Kraken and Gemini are the number one as far as fees and selection go. The key is there's on all the platforms, if you're looking at Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, and Gemini, there is a basic version and there's a what they call a pro or advanced version. Always buy on the pro version. It doesn't cost you any more to use that software. It's more advanced. And you'll save yourself probably anywhere between 5% and let's say 3%. Either way, you're saving 3 to 5% by buying on the advanced platform, not the basic platform. So there you go. I noticed that today it would be more commercial. I know. I noticed that too, Chio. I'm going to see if I can change that. I don't like having that many commercials. I mean, I don't charge anything for the show. I do the show for free. So I thought, let's see what happens if I run ads. And I've been running ads. I know it does like maybe 2 or 3 per show, but I've noticed it's been much more than that today. A little notification pops up on my screen. So I'll check it out, and I might actually discontinue the ads because I don't make that kind of money. It's a couple bucks here and there. But Big Eb, you missed it. I did give you a glowing review. I gave all the accolades to you earlier. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but done. I'm not going to repeat it. You're going to have to go rewatch the show, bud. I gave you a nice little shout out. I owe you a beer. Got it. We'll make that happen, my buddy. We'll make it happen. Oh, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. Do I prefer Coinbase? No, I do not. I do not, Fury. If you look at the 4 exchanges, Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, and Gemini, the bottom of the barrel is Binance because they don't interact with U.S. banks. So I can't get dollars in and out. That's the worst. 4th place is Coinbase. Now, I love Coinbase because they're pushing the most with crypto. Like, they're literally lobbying every single day trying to make these laws change, and I respect that. But the fees you're going to pay are far more on Coinbase than they are on any other platform. And then you have Kraken and Gemini. Out of those 2, I would say personally I like Gemini better. I think they got a better platform. There's more cryptos on there, and I think they have more liquidity. But the fees are the same if you use the advanced platform. Let's see. So yeah, I do not prefer Coinbase. Definitely not. And let's see. There was one other thing we're going to get to, and I thought that was here. Yeah, I already talked about this. I already talked about Bitcoin hitting that 50K mark. Bought some more. Good for you, Scott. I did not. I didn't buy any more Bitcoin. I'm trying to diversify a little bit more since what happened with Celsius and Voyager and BlockFi. I lost quite a bit on that deal, so I'm looking to replace some positions. I lost all my Avalanche, my EOS, my Cardano. I have a little bit of Cardano left, but my big lion's share of my position was at Celsius. Damn it, Mashinsky. Hope his trial comes here soon. Just I seldom catch the live stream. Well, good to have you with the live stream. I prefer the live stream. I think live streams are... I'm going to skip ads. Hold on. In 30 seconds, it's supposed to insert an ad, but let me skip it. I just hit skip, so hopefully you guys get no ad right now. You are getting too many. Okay, so I've covered pretty much all the stuff I had to talk about today. I was going to talk about... we talked about the buying opportunities, some new portfolio positions for me, which will expire next week. We talked about Bitcoin, that $50,000 price drop, at least down to 50K. Now that bounced out of it, the question is, where do we go from here? The one other piece that I wanted to get a graphic for, but it wouldn't let me. So I went out and I asked Midjourney, give me a picture of Kamala Harris speaking to Bitcoin executives. And I can't do any graphics with Kamala Harris or her VP on Midjourney. It blocked me. So what's interesting is I've already mentioned that we know Donald Trump, at least at face value, says he's pro-Bitcoin because I think he wants the votes. Smart man. Kennedy, I think, understands the real power and value of Bitcoin and what it can do because it's real. And then you have your third candidate, which was Biden, who was anti. I don't think he knew anything about it, honestly. I think he's just being told. Now, Kamala Harris is a different story. I think she understands some of it, and she has asked to have executives in the crypto world inform her advisors about Bitcoin. And apparently, this has gotten extremely heated, like very heated, to the point where I guess the Democratic candidate campaign people are asking questions and saying, oh, well, we're not directing the SEC to do this or make it difficult for you. And all of a sudden, these executives from crypto like Kraken and Binance, or Kraken and Coinbase, are going, oh, really? Let us show you the facts on how difficult the SEC has made it for businesses to do business legally in the United States. If we get a change, and this is where I don't think I could be more bullish. If this happens, then I can't see any scenario where cryptocurrencies go down in value, particularly the big stuff, not your shitcoins, altcoins like, Bonk or Pepe coin, but real ones like Ethereum and Bitcoin and Avalanche and Solana. If all three candidates position themselves pro-crypto, which I actually think this is going to happen. I think Kamala Harris is going to change her tune on this because she realizes that the young generation is very pro-crypto. And not only that, but as soon as she says she's pro-crypto, or if she says she's anti-crypto, then Trump and Kennedy will say, the Democrats are trying to kill jobs in America. It's an easy target. So she's got to align herself on the positive side of it. The question is, how much, right? How does she say I'm very pro crypto, or we'll work together to see how digital assets fit in, which I think will be the right. I think that's what she'll do, is say, we're not anti. We'll make it clear we're not anti, but we want to make sure that it's safe and secure. Okay, that'll probably be their stance. But if she does come out and says that she's pro Bitcoin, then you guys tell me, where do you think it's going to go? It cannot be a mystery at that point. If all three presidential candidates are saying pro-crypto things, particularly with Bitcoin, then Bitcoin's going to moon. So keep holding that bad boy. I can't believe I used to trade Doge. Don't tell anyone. Hey, Jeff, I had a class this morning on cryptocurrencies and digital assets, and I said to the class, I go, look, how you invest in crypto, how you buy is totally up to you. If you're the guy or gal who wants to make a quick buck by flipping Pepe coin, which is completely useless, but you make a couple bucks, good for you. In my opinion, you're giving a black eye to the industry as a whole. There are significant benefits for cryptocurrencies and digital assets in our current financial system in many different levels. However, these scam coins, these shit coins, these meme coins, they are hurting the reputation because people are losing a lot of money. Some make a lot of money, but then by that same token, a lot of people are getting crushed and losing everything. So if you want to gamble with it, fine. Just know going in what you're buying. And that's the main focus of what I teach in crypto classes. Be aware of what you're buying. Can I avoid 100% of the scams in crypto? Not a chance. But I know through my analysis and my research, just like I would analyze a stock or investment contract, I do my research and I'll do my best to weed out the stuff that's going to get me in trouble. And at some point, I come to the conclusion that this is a safer investment for me going forward. So hopefully more people realize that things like Doge and Shiba Inu and Pepe and Floki and Dog with Hat, all this garbage is just a scam. Leave it alone. If you want to be an investor in it, buy the big stuff. Buy the real stuff that's actually working and doing things. Mike says, if you have time, can you comment on CNN Fear and Greed Index being an extreme fear, and if that indicates a probable rise in the markets? Yes. So there's several different fear greed indexes out there, and it typically works this way when you have a pendulum go either direction to an extreme, whether extreme greed or extreme fear. The belief system is that means that everybody's on board for a specific direction, and it's going to go the other way. My mentor taught me that many, many years ago. 1998, my trading mentor said that the markets always will do, and he says always will do what the fewest people expect it to do. How do prices move? Think of it like a train. When a train starts at its first stop, nobody's on it. And as it moves to the next stop, it picks up more and more people. And by the end, you've got a train full of people as it stops. And then how many are on it to go the other way? None. And I think that stocks, investing works that same way, where you have, if it's an extreme fear, that means that people are panicking. You could look at the fear index for that, but if you're talking about the market, let's look at SPY. And we had volume on there. You guys look at the chart right now and tell me where the biggest moments of fear were in the last year. Monday. It's the highest spike of volume. That is your fear gauge. So yeah, I've mentioned this before, and I certainly spend a lot of time on this when I teach the core strategy or stock classes. Volume is critical. Screw Sam Seiden and his inability to see volume. He's volume's not important. You're an idiot. Volume is critical. Volume tells you how much people are panicking. They tell you the emotion. Volume on your stereo tells you how loud the music's going to be. Is it so quiet that you have to like get up the speaker with your ear like this to listen? Or is it so loud that your windows are shattering and your neighbors call the cops? Volume is important. So if I've got the volume on my home stereo maxed out at 10 and my windows are shattering and people are complaining, there's only one way for volume to go, and that's down, because I've already maxed it out. So I do believe, not necessarily CNN's fear gauge, but I do believe that a fear gauge in general is a great tool for you to look for buying opportunities. That's why I thought last week was great. Every headline was bad. People were freaking out. Oh, the recession's imminent. I saw one headline that said the recession is imminent now. I'm like, where do you get this info? Nothing is imminent. I mean, yeah, maybe imminent over the next 30 years. Yeah, we're going to have some recessions, of course, but volume. That's your panic. That's your fear. That's people going, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. Buy opportunity, especially if you see it come into a nice demand zone. Now, it wasn't really on the SPY, which I still did sell some puts on that one. But you look out here, huge spike of volume, the largest one we've seen this year on a big major market sell-off like that. And, a spike of volume by itself is not that big of a deal. It's location. You had this market selling off, and it was picking up speed, big gaps, and all of a sudden, giant gap down. People are like, oh my gosh, this is it. And huge surge of volume. Great. Right into a demand zone? Great. Yeah, emergency rate cut was a common theme on Monday. I mean, come on. No way. No way. There's no reason to do an emergency rate cut. Inflation is the major metric for the Fed. We all know that. There's two things, inflation and unemployment. And they all look okay. So there would be no emergency rate cut, at least at this point. Yeah, it's not about saving the market. Yeah, Oliver, NVIDIA, $95. I was looking at NVIDIA, and again, I didn't pull the trigger on NVIDIA. I wanted to, and I wanted to go a little bit lower. Yeah, we had that 95 mapped out there as the origin of this gap that goes back to May 22nd, and that's the one I did not pull the trigger on that I wanted to, but I said, nah, I'll wait, and I'm not going to regret it. It is what it is. But anyway, yeah, we had some people on the show before I took off that were saying 76. I was looking at that like, is there enough premium? There just wasn't enough premium at the $76 strike, so I left that alone. But yeah, there was a lot of opportunity here. I do believe the fear gauges are really very predictable, because as soon as those things, the pendulum sticks to one side, all the headlines are catastrophe. All the headlines are the sky is falling. Or the other side, everything looks amazing. Nothing can stop this market. You're a fool if you're not buying. Get in. And then that's the turning point for things to start ripping to the downside. And I do personally believe that the media, the news headlines you guys were reading that precipitated this fear are created by the institutions to facilitate that further exacerbation of a sell-off or a market rally. Throw some great headlines out there about emergency rate cut needed, or this market's going to die, God, it's just one gigantic game. Yep, NVIDIA's earnings are coming out later this month. I believe you've got... when do they come out? They are coming out on the 28th of August. So we got a couple weeks for that one to happen. But yeah, that'll be a very exciting day. I'm looking forward to that one. Liz said sold NVIDIA 95 puts. Trade worked hard. Good. I mean, you're not out of the woods yet, Liz. Not out of the woods yet. I'm assuming you sold the August 16th expiring next Friday, but you should be fine. All right, that's going to do it for me. I didn't plan on doing a 1-hour show for a weekend edition to come back, but let me go into what's going to be happening next week. There's not a lot on the first part of the week, but I will bring up your economic calendar here so you guys can check it out. You can see for the U.S., we don't have too much. All right, you get the Cleveland Fed inflation expectations. Who cares? Don't worry about that. There really is not much here for the U.S. markets on the economic calendar front for the 12th of August. So we'll move on from there. And on the earnings front, there's really nothing going on as well. What was on Monday? There's only one company, and they're really small, that's really reporting earnings on Monday. I'll bring it up here before I forget. I want to make sure I at least get the name, because it's in my head, but now I can't think of it. It is Barrick Gold. That was it. There's really nothing else going on other than Barrick Gold, which is not that big of a deal. My NVIDIA 95 puts were for this week. All right. Awesome, Liz. Good for you. Thanks, Fury. Good to have you. And let's see, I'm waiting for another one like that. Honestly, Oliver, I love days like Monday. Monday, to me, are some of the best trading days ever. I love it. I love the panic. I love when you watch the lemmings just launch off a cliff. I know it sounds horrible, but when you see people panic like that, I always make the joke, and people give me a hard time about it. But hey, As a humanitarian, I don't want to see anybody suffer. I don't want to see any pain. I want to see everybody get along. We're all on this planet together, so let's just do right by each other and uplift each other. However, behind the wall of the stock market or crypto exchange or Forex or futures, behind the trading envelope, right, that window, I'm brutal. I want people to suffer. I want to see people go through pain and turmoil because that presents opportunity to me. So if I see people freaking out like they did on Monday, I'm over there like Gollum, rubbing my hands by the riverside going, my precious. I love it. Bring it on. Outside the market, don't want to see pain and suffering. But inside the market, bring it on. Educate yourself and don't be the person losing money out there, and hopefully you'll do better over time. But yeah, I love it. Okay, too late, Big Eb. He tried to ask me the carry trade question right here. 3 minutes left. Well, nice try, buddy. I owe you a beer, not an hour show. Come on, man. Robert says, when will the interest rates drop? The interest rates will drop at the August FOMC meeting. All right. Let me cover that one on Monday, guys, because I'm not going to do it right before I'm going to wrap up the show. But Big Eb and Liz also want to know about the unraveling of the carry trade. Sure. Yeah, we'll do that on our Monday show. Give me a time to prepare some graphics for it. But yeah, it's a very interesting story, which we've talked about. We talked about the rising rate environment hurting that Japanese yen market big time, particularly traders who are investing on both of those. So that's going to do it for me, everybody. I need to go. It's Friday. I have not had a whiskey yet, but I'm going to have some whiskey here shortly. Thank you so much for joining, even though I know it's a short week. I got my one day this week. We'll be back to full stream functionality on our Monday show. So thank you guys. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see everybody on Monday. Take care. And if you have questions, comments, email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com. I'm happy to go into any topic for Monday, but I'll probably do the carry trade as the main topic. Take care, guys. I'll see you on Monday.